Rep. Jim Banks demands Pentagon probe into Tim Walz's frequent trips to China while serving in the National Guard. Now, why would a National Guard troop visit communist China so many times? What is he doing there? Is he a Manchurian candidate? That's what people are wondering. It is very, very weird. To speak of weird, he's the one that called JD Vance weird. I don't see JD Vance taking trips to China, to communist China. So what is he doing there? So we're gonna look at that. We're gonna look into this and find out what's going on. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. Also, follow me on X, where I post news throughout the day there as well. All right, so let's talk about this news now. This comes from the Gateway Pundit's Jim Hoft. And he reports that Representative Jim Banks has called on Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to launch an immediate investigation into Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's repeated visits to China during his tenure with the Nebraska and Minnesota National Guards. Well, of course, Lloyd Banks isn't going to do that. He's not. The government is disinterested in people working for China. I mean, look at all the information and stuff we have on Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and their dealings with China. The government seemed disinterested in people working for our adversaries. Now, you know, I just talked about it yesterday, how Biden was never registered. Hunter Biden was never registered with FARA for being a foreign agent. So my question to Tim Walz is, did he register as a foreign agent? Did he register for FARA as a foreign agent with China? Like, why would he be going to China for all of those, making all those trips to China? Is he a Manchurian candidate? It makes absolutely no sense. But Banks' letter to the Pentagon raises serious concerns about whether Walz, a former senior enlisted service member, properly reported his frequent foreign travels, potentially putting national security at risk. Walz, who served in the National Guard for nearly 24 years, reportedly made nearly 30 trips to China between 1989 and 2005, many of which took place while he held security clearances as part of his duties. What? Why would anyone, like, he doesn't own a business. He's not trying to start a business over there in China. Because remember, he was a school teacher and a coach and he's a good old boy and all these other things they try to portray him as. Why would an individual like that make 30 trips to communist Chinese communist China? Quote, he and his wife also organized trips to China from 1994 to 2003, at least annually during this whole period. Walz remained a service member in either the Nebraska or Minnesota National Guards and presumably held a clearance for much of all of this time. Walz claimed in 2016 they had traveled to China nearly 30 times. It is likely that at least a dozen of these trips occurred while he was a guardsman, according to the letter. The CCP can use this optimism to exploit naive foreign visitors, particularly visitors who are military service members. Walz bragged about one trip to China that, quote, they gave me more gifts than I could bring home, and that, quote, I will never be treated that well again. Gifts. So you're accepting gifts from a foreign country, and you are a guardsman of the United States for the United States. This makes no sense. But Banks asserted that the governor's travels to China, an adversary nation, should have been subject to strict scrutiny and prior approval from security offices as its standard procedure for any clearance holder. That's true. Yet there is growing concern that Walz may have circumvented these protocols, failing to disclose his trips and the nature of his interactions with Chinese officials. Quote, clearance holders often require prior approval and threat briefings for foreign travel to prepare them for the risk of hostile foreign intelligence activity, said Banks. And me as a foreign secret clearance holder, I'm not foreign, me as a past secret clearance holder in the military, I know for a fact that if I was gonna go to China when I was in the military, I would have to let my supervisor know it has to go up the chain of command. I have to give him a reason why I'm there, and all of those things. So why has he circumvented that? But quote, these intelligence threat concerns are far greater when a security clearance holder travels to an adversary nation like the People's Republic of China, especially when that clearance holder travels there on dozens of occasions. Clearance holders who return from foreign travel are also required to complete a debriefing questionnaires for their security office, detailing their trip and reporting any potential suspicious interactions that occurred during their travels. Yeah, suspicious like getting a lot of gifts from the Chinese Communist Party. But Banks also criticized Walz for his dismissive attitude towards the U.S.-China relationship, quoting the governor's 2016 statement in which he claimed that the U.S. and China did not have an, quote, adversary relationship and that there were, quote, many areas of cooperation between the two countries. Yeah, sound very suspect. But they're worried about Trump and Russia though, right? The congressman highlighted the absurdity of Walz's choosing China as his honeymoon destination and scheduling his wedding to coincide with the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Wow. Red flags right there. No pun intended with Red China. In his letter, Rep. Banks demanded answers to several pressing questions regarding Walz's security clearance and his compliance with foreign travel protocols. Banks wants to know whether Walz reported his travels to the appropriate security office, whether he received prior approval for his trips, and whether he was ever warned about the potential security risk posed by his frequent travel to China. 30 times though? 30 times? And you're not a business person or anything like that. You just love China so much that you and your wife decide to visit there 30 times. But quote, given Walz's history of pro-China positions, and the pro-China position makes sense now, and his already irresponsible personal decision to repeatedly travel to an adversary nation while holding a clearance, the most plausible explanation for this lapse in security is that Walz may have failed or refused to comply with Department of Defense foreign travel reporting requirements, Banks wrote in a letter. Goes on to say, if Walz did fail or refuse to report foreign travel to an adversary nation to his superiors, the Department of Defense must investigate this reckless disregard for our national security and set the public record straight about this security failure. Requested a detailed response from Security Austin by August 20th, 2024, urging the Pentagon to take this matter seriously and to provide the American people with the transparency they deserve. Don't hold your breath. I don't think Lloyd Austin or the Pentagon or anyone is going to respond to this, not until after the election, I bet. Because I'm pretty much guarantee if anyone's visiting China 30 times and it's not for business, something definitely nefarious is going on. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.